How's it going, gang? We are back for another episode of the Pod Squad podcast, name pending, episode 2, recorded just after the regional. As always, I'll be your host here, KnTElixar, joined by man that has disappeared. I don't know why. We're off to a good start.
That's my superpower. Just like I drop from events, which is infrequently, I also appear on podcasts infrequently. Hi guys, it's me. I'm Tom at TommyNT on Twitter, and I'm here for week number 2. Thanks for having me again.
All right.
Hello, it's me, KBeeDS. Do I get co-host yet, or am I like tertiary guy? Am I like?
You've got like a Costa report card. Once you get your 10th one, we stop paying.
My 10th one.
If Andrew is the Superman and I am the Lois Lane, I like to think you as the Jimmy Olsen.
Who's that?
Never, oh man, that's hurtful.
Once in my life read a Superman comic. Who reads Superman comics?
I don't know. Don't read the back of there.
All right, and we are actually joined. It's not just the three of us stooges this time. We have an elusive special guest.
Hello, Harry, DHM XD _ on Twitter. Smile. Here, this time. Yay.
Yeah, we decided to invite the highest placing member of Fanboy 3, highest placing Alphamon in the UK. We are fresh off the back of the Liverpool regionals, and we all did varying degrees of okay.
Oh brother, what a weekend!
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a shorter podcast than last time, hopefully. But before that, we have order of business. Hit the subscribe button if you aren't already on Twitch, or follow all the good stuff. Make sure you get notifications when we say stuff. And for the YouTube people that want to dodge ads in all of the future episodes, make sure to hit the join button. You can do it for as little as a pound a month. It gets you access to all the ad-free videos, and it helps support the channel so we can do stuff like this more frequently and make it better as time goes on.
Yeah, it's a tough sell for Andrew to do as much work on production as he does, making all the scenes, getting everything looking nice, keeping it all organized, if it's not the sort of thing that he gets rewarded in time for. So if you like the show, for week number 2 now, you gotta show up for it. So
yeah, it is pretty funny because it's like, all right, we're gonna set a time to start this, and then I remember that all of the camera scenes need tweaking. It's like, we will be starting 15 minutes late, if that.
It do be like that.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It does mean now that we have 4, we actually do get to show off like some cool stuff. Like,
whoa!
Oh my God, we're alive!
Digital.
Whoa!
We're here.
We also have the merge
now.
chat.
What a time to be alive!
Yes, we do have the merge chat as well. Some feedback from, I think it was Saf, saying that like the VOD doesn't show chat, so we do interact with chat a little bit. We do have a run of show that we will try and stick to as best we can. But you guys, both on YouTube and Twitch now, should be able to like say stuff that we will read, and it will make sense to people watching later. Audio listeners on Spotify, because we are on Spotify. Unfortunate. It is what it is.
Can you drop comments on like Apple Music? Is that like a thing that you can
You
do?
actually can't even rate podcasts on Spotify until you've listened to a few episodes.
Yeah, you can't do monetization until there's 2 episodes either. The thing about Apple Podcasts is it costs money. So that's why you should support the channel with like Twitch Prime or YouTube memberships, because that gets you the most. And start of next year will be on Apple Podcasts, because I did not feel like trying to remember midway through November is when my Apple Podcasts host subscription runs out. So that's going to be a January thing. Till then, we're on YouTube, Twitch, and Spotify. That's the other one.
Where's the Palmon in the background? You can't see it right now, but the Palmon is in my background. Maybe for a different scene.
Yeah, true.
The Palmon, all our Digimon goobers are around.
All right. So I guess who wants to do their run first?
Surely it should be you, O Fearless Leader.
True, we'll go up in order of bubble. So I'll start first. At 125th, I took Anubis, as pretty much anyone would expect. I was on the dog, I was looping people. The amount of people that said, oh, I thought it was Belphamon, and then died horrifically to Blue Mirror out of raising. Pretty great, big fan. Probably should have gone 4-3. There was one thing, like I lost to the worst Red Wargrave player of all time. But
hey man, I wasn't that bad.
You dodged me. But yeah, it was alright. I got to meet some fans actually. My last 3 rounds, which is like back-to-back people that watch the channel. So shout out to you if you're watching this as well. Because stuff like that definitely improved my day. Because the 2 p.m. because we did not stick to the game plan. It was cursed vibes hours. So yeah, I went 4-3. I actually do have the notes on my run. I won my first match, which is always the hardest one. Against Black or Grey. They were a little bit slow, so they got murdered. Game 2, I was too slow, and all of my stuff is 6k, and Metal Grey X popped 6ks, so that was miserable.
That's the thing about like your first round of the event is it kind of like it doesn't dictate the rest of your day, but it sort of like shapes up the rest of your day in a way where like if you lose your first round in your X1 bracket and then now it's just like that's the Wild West of like if you stay X1 for the rest of the day. Speaking from experience, but we'll get to that later. It's just like I played like 7 different matchups or something like that, maybe 6. But if you like win your first game, then it's like, oh, okay, hopefully I get to play against the things that I prepared for.
Yeah, like I played Black or Grey round. Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say we had another one of our team who started the day 4-0, and like exactly as Marcio has just said, played the same deck 4 times. So there is really like if you hit your first round, you crush it. All of the prep you did will come to fruition. Everything will be great. But if you choke that first game, get ready for a deck you haven't seen in 8 months.
Especially when it's like a pair down. Because like I won my first set, then I lost to Alphamon, which is also a pretty rough matchup. But I mean, I hit Gift of Darkness and Security on a kill turn, and it's just like, the exact thing that I would lose to. Yeah. And then after that, round 3 was Hexablow. Like you just straight up just immediately into just the most wacky racers ass deck that just shows up. Hexablow actually solos my whole deck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
I heard about that through hearsay.
Yeah, it was rough. Like game 1, she was playing like she had 4s and 5s out. And I just cleared it every single time. It was like Ignite, come out, blow something up, or Declaw, pop a 4, stuff like that. So I never saw the 6. Did not respect it at all. Game 2, I have a hand of 4 Gizmon and something else. She goes first and drops Sorojo. I go, I lose. Game 3, she plays Hexablow. I was like, oh, do you know what Hexablow does? And I go, yeah, anything with no sources can't attack. And then the gears start turning. I'm just like, oh no. And yeah, that was rough. She stripped my only blue mirror that I saw the entire game, and the blue mirror then could go over an Ignite that was like Ginkaku Ignite, retaliation into the body, cleared it, and then it was like smooth sailing from there. But it was just like I'm digging through everything and I just cannot find blue mirror. Luckily she gave me one. Round 4 was versus Knights, lost 2-0. He was playing like a blue package, and I just couldn't find pieces. I was just kind of held hostage on a 4 and a 5. Black or Grey X was the most tilting loss, because the dude was doing stuff like push out an 8k stack, like the one of Greymon, and then just let it die to a 9k blocker that was on field. Yeah, that. The only reason I did lose is because the reboot popped stuff during my turn, which meant that the AT that I floated into couldn't attack that turn, which was something that like he'd said it and it hadn't quite computed, so it like really messed me up. And I think I played the wrong rookie out of trash as a result and lost the loop. Shine was a fan. That was super fun. He died into the sun because Ignite. I had 2 blue mirrors game 3. Could not find Anubis. I draw Anubis the past turn. He's like, he dropped a 5 that I couldn't clear. Goes into the Shine to play out the blocker, so it's gonna be like the 9k shrink. Ignite comes out of rate. I find the Anubis. Anubis plays Ignite, immediately kills the Anubis, clears both. I draw Anubis off of a different swing. I hit a Marcus off the Ignite, so I'm chilling. I'm just like, okay, we loop from here. Easy game. And then I played Blue Flare for my last matchup, which was, it was 50-50. I got to drop both floodgates on him and go, welcome to Digimon. Enjoy your Blazinga. But yeah, my run, pretty good. Definitely was, started off strong, ended strong. The middle was a little bit 50-50. And the vibes were off because we missed teams.
Oh man, I'm still mad about it. It's gonna be. I like to say that there's like periods of time where you think about like, dude, if I'd done something differently this weekend, I would do blah. Any amount of losses. If I had lost my first game, knowing that there were gonna be 4 teams and that those cards are worth like £100 each, I would have just dropped anyway. I wanted them anyway. I'm so mad.
Tell me about it. I did really well, and my price support was still worth less than the 2 dudes, like the like however many 12 dudes that dropped and just entered a 3v3 for fun.
Yeah, because each of the 16 people played the side event at TCG Expo Liverpool, and if you played the side event and were in the top 4 of top 4 teams, obviously it's a 3v3 event, like we talked about last week. Watch the old podcast. The top 4 teams all got like a higher tier of prizing. So you start out with Yaman, a Yaman ult, a Deathslinger ult, and a BT11 Koromon ult. If you get top 4, you get an Impmon ult, a Beelzemon ST. Sorry, it's Impmon from ST14, Beelzemon from ST14, and Metal Greymon from BT8. And then if you won, you got Black War Greymon from BT8 and Beelzemon Blast Mode from ST14. They were great the ult's insane. Everybody wants them. In Japan, they were buku bucks. So frustrating because we all got kind of shememade on that one.
I think half of it was that like they did it a little bit too early into the day, or they could have done it as like a day 2 thing.
Even beyond doing it early in the day, they did it really early into that round as well, where like I was still playing when signups closed. Like it didn't cost me my what's it called? Like I didn't drop after that round anyway, but I know a couple of my friends who that was their second loss and they were like, all right, I would like be down to drop right now. Yeah. I think like Derek exactly was like his game went on for a while because he was playing versus something pretty slow. And like basically dropped afterwards, but the signups had already closed.
Yeah,
so, like,
it was really rough. Like
that's what happened.
Because of my brick, I actually like was done in like maybe 10-15 minutes, and I was just like, Tom's Red Hybrid, maybe he'll just OTK them and we can drop and play. And it's just like he just hit the grindiest shit, and it's just like, why can't we drop? Like if I'd known, like if I'd realized that there was like, oh, there's only 16 people here, I would have been like, Tom, scoop, we're going, and then put Jamie in a headlock and dragged him over to the registration desk and like, this is our 3v3 team. Hello.
Don't worry, Trix will carry the name Jessmon. You can come play a side event.
Yeah, had we known, I definitely would have too.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like the pricing for the main event is like it's still great pricing. Like the alts were great. But I think this was an event where the main event was like an old format, and then like the side formats just had better pricing. And if it wasn't better pricing, it was like a more fun tournament. It just happens that this was like our like last UK event for the year, so people.
It was our only like it was the only like nearby non-on like accessible BT13 event that was like the standard format for us. So like this was the chance for all sanctioned exactly. That was the chance for all of us to play their cards.
Yeah, as well as like the last one of a format where people had been playing for a long time, so it was kind of the culmination of what people had really been sinking their teeth into. And like attendance-wise, it looked like it showed up.
Yeah, it was the event. I think it was more for like to say that you went to the event and you actually played like a thing during BT13 more than like the actual pricing. It was more to like kind of like test people's abilities and like the people that played a bunch of
no more excuses.
Yeah, like no more excuses. That people you had like 2 months plus to test for this event.
For sure.
And then like the people that did well were with decks that were like running extremely solid like tournament decks. So much so that Blue Flare 1, which is known to be like a extremely solid tournament deck, provided that it dodges its matchup. It's like a bad matchup, and a bunch of like decks that always do well. It was a very like even the top 16 was like still pretty diverse, which is what when we go back in time and look at BT13, I think that's what BT13 will get praised for, was that it was a very diverse format and there were a lot of decks that could win.
Yeah, for sure. I went ahead and pulled up the stats for the metagame regarding like proportional entry for deck placement. And like you said, Marcio, the thing for Blue Flare was just like it is an understood quantity in tournaments. It does very well over long periods of playtime. It was the second most represented deck in both day 1 and day 2 combined. 22 people brought it. Of the combined, I think the total was
192.
It was 185.
185.
It was the second most played deck right there after Shine Greymon, which we can talk about later. But in the interest of keeping the story on the runs going, I'll quickly go through mine. I played Red Hybrid at Liverpool Regionals for BT13. It's a deck I'm confident on. Deck I have had a number. I'm very lucky to have very proficient players on it in my testing group, folks who have helped cook up what, in my opinion, felt like a very genuinely perfect 50-card list. And the problem, Red Hybrid, I'll pull the Band-Aid off here. This was not only my worst placement of the year, it was the third worst Red Hybrid placement in the room. I won't make excuses. A lot of it was personal player, but there were some factors that I still will go out and die on the hill for the deck list for, but not for my run. My run was voodoo cursed. My run was unbelievable. I hit every Alphamon in the room that didn't make top 8. It was just untenable. Nobody should have to do what I did on my deck. I played through, in order, I'm just going to start you guys off with this. Alphamon, Blue Flare, Alphamon, Royal Knights to a tie. First Red Hybrid tie in the UK. That was fun. Death X Security Control, my second game where no Warp Takuyas were available to me. And my third game, final little fun Alphamon experience just to end of the day, where the only thing worse than my matchup with his third game Brig. I'll go through them. I have the notes just like Andrew did. Game 1, my opponent, super nice, friendly person in the morning. You always appreciate it when
this is for round 1 versus.
This is for round 1. Yeah, for Alphamon. Game 1 versus Alphamon. And my run starts with a particular contextual hiccup here. I receive a warning -2 before the event starts that my sleeve opacity was not good enough. They were sleeves that I picked up there on the day. I had orange Dragon Shields to match my orange deck. But for folks who are in the chat and don't know me IRL, I'm hella colorblind. I have deuteranopia. I can't see red and green and the little space in between. I have some trouble with it. So I was told my sleeves weren't opaque enough and I had to get them changed between my games. I received a warning. No worries, no fine. Was not penalized for this. And my opponent said to the judge, again, my opponent, absolutely super decent person, straight up really cool with me and speaking to the judge about it. They were like, I have no problem with it. I can't tell the difference. Whatever. So I received no penalty, just the warning. And we played on for the game. And then new sleeves stuck together. And my first Pokemon of the day flipped over an extra card, static cling stuck to itself. So I received a second warning back to back. So the mental was great. Loved that. However, despite all of the good and bad of it, game 1 went pretty close. I did all right. I got him down to a really clean. I opened the dream for Red Hybrid, which is BT7 Flamemon going on top of Yokomon in the raising area, and you pass 2 memory, passing or evolving into a Goonimon, so that when you swing that thing at security, that puppy checks 1, ideally dies, floats into Kuya, floats into Flamemon sideways. It's fantastic. It gives you another turn of tempo essentially on their turn. It's very broken and stupid. That line resolved fantastically. I think I checked exactly the amount of damage I needed to. I want to say it was a Darugamon. It was very good. Full line resolved, got everything I needed to. Passed turn to my opponent, I think by playing the 3-cost Kuya after it floating into the Mem Setter. And then opponent's turn starts. They go, they had a rookie in raising. They left in raising. They showed me Ryudomon. Ryudomon found the one-of. This is a story you're going to hear a lot throughout my day. The one-of was drawn and killed me 7 times. It was the first of a few. So that game didn't last too long. I was lucky to be able to get my damage in. The Pokemon on that turn then gave me the second warning. No worries. I called the judge on myself. My opponent was like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. But you never know, right? Just because you pair with somebody nice, and this is true for anybody who's watching, if just because your opponent has been nice and they make a mistake, or if you make a mistake and you take the onus on yourself, it is always better to maintain the game state, because some stuff can happen if you're not transparent about stuff. Just like my sleeves. So game 1 and 2 pretty much go to wrap. Game 1, I'm just blown out by the one-of. Game 2, I'm able to take all the way down to the last security, and the final security check that I did not have access to with the no security Aldemon inherit triggered a delay effect, Black Memory Boost, and security, and I just got blown up. And then game 3 was a non-game. I was just destroyed by the searcher on turn 2 that finds the one-of. Then I went into Blue Flares. I will not take the whole time to talk about Blue Flares. The matchups basically went the same each time. Blue Flare player number 1 put me through the ringer. I'd managed to conceal that I was on the Tech 2 of Solarmon for the matchup because I just genuinely did not think I had a great line for it otherwise. Didn't need it for most of game 1, but game 2 was an absolute grind fest. And part of the problem with that is that I ended up having to develop a game plan where, because of the timing on their stun, I had to let them clear Agunimons and float into Flame Mons so that the Flame Mons could chip on the next turn. And that meant that I played back-to-back 2 40-minute Blue Flare games on Red Hybrid. If you play a 40-minute game on Red Hybrid at all, you know something's gone wrong. Never mind collectively 80 minutes of looking at Metal Greymon and Kiriha. It was a rough morning. By this point, I felt like we walked out of round 3, checked with the group. I was X1, 2 wins in a row into a deck that I was teched for. Had a little pop with Marcio because the list changes were good. And then I went right back into the Alphamon grinder. It was brutal and horrible. I was killed by in this game twice in a row, back to back. That was my fastest match of the day. Guy was really cool. Shout outs to Cobb. He was my favorite opponent of the day. He knew all about Red Hybrid. I told him I knew a lot about Alphamon, and we could do the whole thing back and forth. And then I checked a X antibody to steal my turn, and that killed me in game 1. But again, he had the one of that game. Game 2, this is the one time I did not die to the one of because I won this one, but it was very close. The one of, he just didn't have the memory to fully extend because in choosing to take the one of, he robbed himself of his only, we didn't know at the time, his only Dorumons he was going to see all game. So he had very little memory extension, could not play at the board correctly, and he just sort of took Burning Greymon to the head a couple times. Game 3, I was murdered, just like that. Then it was Royal Knights. My opponent was a couple minutes late, but not technically long enough. Thank you to my judge. I believe he's still in the chat. Shout outs to Jambo. Support your judges. Say thank you when you see him. It's thankless work. It wasn't technically long enough for a kind of game loss or anything. He was gone just shy of 5 minutes, but that did end up coming to bite me in the butt because we went to time on game 3 right when I would have had lethal. So sometimes it happens, but the rules are the rules, and don't play the game if you can't handle that. My round 6 was security control. I had a look at the guy. He was a little silent Bob and didn't really want to talk. I picked up his very messed up, nasty golden beat up sleeves, shuffled it, hadn't looked at it, went getting shades of yellow hybrid or Setcon. He rolled his eyes, put his hand, and hatched an Upamon. That was fun. He had no idea what my cards did. I checked him for 5 no options, and he was just profoundly confused. And then that went my way game 1 after 30 minutes because the correct line for Red Hybrid that game is to just play for keeping a Pokemon on the field to resolve the full combo and taking the guy away in 1 turn. Super easy, super safe, worked out great. He in particular frustrated me because he was not super nice to talk to or anything like that. He was kind of rolling his eyes at a lot of stuff. But also like insisted on multiple occasions he would just not resolve Purple Kari to tap when a security was being taken. He was like, oh, I missed it. And then he would miss it again. He'd be like, oh, I missed it. I think he wanted me to let him take it back. But like, if he wasn't even willing to ask the question, I wasn't going to do it anyway, guys. Setcon does itself. You should just do your one part of the job. But yeah. Game 2, we lose in time 1-1 because I had all 4 of my Warp Takuyas in security, which is pretty dope. I lost to a guy who realized he could just make a bunch of Magna Angemons over turns and then swing 5 checks of the game. And then my last round was a 3rd Alphamon. This one, he did see the one of all 3 games, but I was very lucky because his first swing on the Alphamon was only at 13. Or sorry, was only at... Oh no, he didn't find... He detached inherits in like an incorrect order. And he had to swing at stuff early, and he checked into enough Takuyas that I just had lethal for the clackback. So, got very lucky in that one. But again, yeah, I saw the one of an Alphamon 7 times throughout the day, and it killed me all but 1 time they saw it. So, fun run. Overall, don't play Red Hybrid if you expect to see a deck that blocks with giant black Digimon that are protected for most of your run. That's a bad meta call.
I think you saw Doru Greymon more than I did.
I think I saw Doru Greymon more than every player in the room put together.
That's very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah. So that's me. Thanks for listening to the rant.
This is a good rant.
Ban the one-ofs. The game would be better without them.
Ban the one-ofs.
All right. Speaking of
Oh, is it my
one-offs,
turn? Okay, so Liverpool, I think I had a lot of fun, mostly because I got to play in 2 events, and I wasn't particularly. I went into the event with the idea to like do as best as I could, but when you have a side event on the next day, that's like PT14, that's a little bit more appealing. So like, I wasn't like sandbagging my games or anything, but like in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, if I do bad, it's fine. I'll just play in day 2. But I still took like every round to the best of my ability. So my run was, I'll keep it brief just because like um, most of my games are either like I have it or I don't. I'm playing a tempo deck. I ended. How many rounds did we play? 6?
7 rounds.
7 rounds in total.
So I ended 5-2. My losses were round 1 to Royal Knights. This was somebody that was a second player. He was called TJ. He talked with second on UK Games Expo. He was like second place. So as soon as I saw him, I knew the player, and so I was like, oh, you're playing second. And then he was like, oh, that's weird, like people know me or something. But it was just like, if you go to enough events, you see the top players at the top tables hanging out, you recognize like the faces, you can kind of like make an educated guess. However, I basically told myself that if I was going to play versus Setcon, as round 1 of the event, I would allow myself 1 loss and just play in the X1 bracket for the rest of the day without dropping like another round. And he flips Yggdrasil, and that caught me off guard. My hand didn't super change, but I immediately was like, I don't care about Secon, whatever. I now have to like, I put a lot of time preparing for Royal Knights because I think it is like, yeah, shout out to like Saf and like a bunch of other people that like I spoke to and stuff. But it was a matchup that I prepared a lot for because I think it's one of the decks that good players gravitate towards, since the deck has inevitability and has a lot of control. And like the deck feels very like sturdy. You can kind of build for the techs, and if you see the right knife for that situation, like it's a phenomenal deck. The issue is that sometimes the deck doesn't do that, and you're playing with like awkward knights, or like if the opponent's very good at playing around like your effects, then like some matchups just feel unwinnable. But yeah, so this list that I took, I was on Bloom, deck that I've been playing for ages. I'm a green player, so it's like all I can play. Thanks, Bandai. And my list was cooked by, it was 3 people. It was a collaborative project. It was me, my girlfriend Emily, who ended up getting top 16 with pretty much the same 50, and Chaos Uchi / Usman. He was basically the guy that like I talked to a lot about Bloom because he played Melga during like EX3, and then he like played Bloom. He played Bloom at Walsall and what was the other one? Games Expo. So he was like the only other Bloom player that like I really trusted like the judgment and like the deck building process, because our locals is a little bit weird. It's a lot of like green mirror sometimes, as evident on KnTElixar. There's like at least one Bloom like video every weekend. It's not even me. So that just goes to show that like we have a lot of Bloom players. But the list felt pretty good. Like we were pretty confident on the 50. It was just the issues that Bloom has sometimes, which is you don't see your pieces, or your lines are a little bit awkward, or like you have a few like really bad matchups. Like Alphamon, but we'll get to that later.
There were actually a surprising lack of Belphamons. Like, I'm sure we're going to go over like a little bit more of distribution, like with the blue flare stuff, but like, because I was doing the article for it,
yeah,
there were no Belphamon players.
I think it was like heebie-jeebies of like the deck didn't convert well in Europe. It was like a deck that did very well in NA and not very well in Europe. And also like people were just like, why am I going to play a deck that's going to get hit the next day? But I think the deck was like incredibly strong. But yeah, I played against Royal Knights. It was a pretty rough match. It was 2-1, but you know, it happened. So I lose that round. And the guy that I play against, TJ, I basically told him that for the rest of the day, because he beat me, he was not allowed to lose. And I was just going to basically piggyback off of him, like either going undefeated or X1 to bump my resistances up, because I knew that from then on I was on the X1 bracket. And I told myself that I just cannot lose. Like, it doesn't matter the matchup, I am not allowed to lose. And neither was TJ. So every round we were sat next to each other, like pretty much. And every single round that started, I looked at him and I told him, you're not allowed to lose. So then round 2, I play against, I have my notes here. I play against Greymon. This was, I think it was a relatively newer player. He was his first tournament. But
long day for
this
him.
guy, yeah. He was somebody else's brother that I played. I played his brother like in the second to last round as well. That person was Luke Campbell. He was also a Bloom player in DC1, and he was on Alphamon, and that's who I played against. So
I
played
played
like,
his brother round 2.
He had like Kamen Rider sleeves. It was cool.
Oh no way! I sat down for him.
Wait, no, I played Wargreymon round 2.
Are your own notes mixing you?
No, I played against.
Yeah, I've got Marcio's Limitless page up. He did play Black Wargreymon round 2.
Yeah, I played a Campbell round 2.
You played Belphamon round 2?
Must be a different thing.
Then you played the brothers on the corresponding round.
Yeah.
Was it Belphamon?
Yeah, it was Belphamon. He was my Belphamon.
Oh, then I thought you played against Wargreymon. No, then yes, you did play the brothers. Yeah. Yeah, but it was just like Bloom into Greymon. Like you don't need to go that deep into the matchup. It's like if they're a little bit inexperienced, you just kind of wait for them to raise because some people get a little bit like when Digivolving happy, and that's like the thing that like Bloomlord punishes. It's like if you go first, then like I'm free to just interact with you. Like I'm not afraid of you clapping back because you can't. Like your deck doesn't allow you to.
How many
so
instances
it was still a very it was still a very enjoyable match. Like we had a good time. Anytime like I see somebody with like anything like Kamen Rider related, it's like it's great. Most of the time I just spend the time talking about Kamen Rider more than anything else. Then round 3 I play against Royals. This is something that you played, Tom.
Yeah, I played him day 2 for BT14 Blitz.
At this point I was a little bit like way more warmed up, and I won game 1 off of him going into Omnimon a little bit too early and not pushing damage. Like it was more for he lost the game because he went Omni, didn't push damage. He instead tried to clear and keep his knights on the board.
Sure.
Which I basically just like every turn was taking away his knights from the field, and every turn he was passing me more and more memory. So eventually got to the point where like I just quartzed him because I was able to push damage early, and I quartzed him, and then whatever was on the board I just swung for game. The Craniumon was no longer unaffected, so happens. And game 2, I believe, let me see. I gambled on a very early Bloomlord and that he didn't have an answer for because he went through Jesmon and I believe KnTElixar at that point. So, and even if he went into Gallantmon, the Bloom is like perfect where it's like bigger than the 6K but not the 13, and I kept it unsuspended. So the Gallantmon wouldn't be able to interact with it. And I used the Argo level 5 to like that's the card that kind of like helped out a ton just because like the extra bodies for free like pluses you, lets your Blue Lord go for 2 checks. The gamble paid off and I was able to like just basically take the game over very early on. He didn't really get to play that one, so that was cool. Like it felt good to win versus Royal Knights because I prepared a lot for it, and it was like round 1 I made a misplay where I miscounted my memory and that probably cost me the game. So it was good that like I was able to be the matchup that like I prepared for as opposed to just getting bought and immediately going X2 and my run ending. Round 4, I played against Blue Flare. That matchup is like it's a buy. It's genuinely a buy. Like there's nothing that the Blue Flare player can do other than to Death X you. That's it. Like the moment you get Cherry Quartz, like Cherrymon Quartz, they cannot play. And I did that both games and I won. A super nice opponent, but like I know that matchup. Like I've played it since the beginning of like
since BT10.
Yeah, literally Bloom Lord printed into that matchup. Yeah,
like you just can't play it. Happens. Round 5 versus Shine. It was a really weird match. Like he again like when Digivolving was a little bit when Digivolving happy, and I think he had like 6 Tamers on the board at one point. But like he never even got into like Shine or Burst. Like he might have been stuck on the 5s, but I also kept clearing his bodies. At one point I make a Quartz and I suspend 3 of the Mem Setter, which like takes out my other dudes, but I still have an unsuspended Quartz and he doesn't have a stack to interact with, so I just like take over the game that way. Like if they don't have an Alpha Quartz, it's usually GG. And MVP was like Mimi. Mimi was the MVP. That the Mimi like skews that matchup just because like I can be aggressive and I always have something in the back to like immediately answer your like game plan. So it's very, very difficult for decks to outtempo you when you have the Mimi. And then game 2 he plays a little bit aggressive as well. Like he goes a little bit up front. Granted I won that one off of HPD, but that's just a card in my deck. Like It is what it is. Like, I just wanted it more. You were simply a spectator, and we take those. That's the thing about Shine. It's the thing that I keep saying that about that deck is that it's the worst tier 1 deck because it only looks impressive when they high roll you, but when the deck is playing like fair, it looks like a really bad deck. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah,
None of its lines.
With only like one BT12 Marcus, the deck feels like reasonable. So it's like one BT12, a couple BT13 Marcuses, and you're looking at it and going, yeah, this is like a reasonable amount of things you're doing.
Yeah, and like most people only know how to play towards the high roll, so when they have like awkward hands, like they don't really know how to navigate that. But you know, it happens. Like, I'll take, if that's the only Shine matchup that I have to play for the day, I'll take it. Like, I'm not asking to play versus that deck. I don't want to get high rolled because a lot of the times it's not even about like me losing, it's me getting high rolled. And like there's nothing you can do. Like, no deck can stop it. And then we're going to round 6. This was I played against Luke Campbell, the Alphamon player, and I managed to hit the only Alphamon player at this point that was X1 in my score like setting this deep into the tournament. And I was like thinking to myself, why was it me? Why me out of everyone?
My bad.
I was looking left and right, and there were blue flares and Royal Knights and Shines, and I was like, why me? But it's fine. I was like, if my run ends here, at least I ended to a nice opponent. I literally found out that like he was the Kamen Rider fan, and we had a nice like chat about it. It was very fun playing that match because like we both knew how the matchup went. Like, I wasn't like, he knew what my cards did, I knew what his cards did. We were just playing like really fast, just kind of like go go go. But I was like, I'm gonna play like an ape. I'm going to slam my stuff. I'm going to like resolve my when Digivolve things. I'm just going to like play to the board because the Alphamon player just cannot interact with what's on the board other than to swing. And if they're swinging Gizumons into my Digimon to take damage off the board or stop me from popping off, they're not killing me, which gives me more time. So eventually I just get a double bloom turn, wipe all of his security, and I basically put him on show me sleep mode, and even then, like, he didn't have a body on board. I cleared it, and even there's just no way for him to get into the game. And then game 2 is like a very similar deal. I think I might have HPD'd that one, but I definitely, like, the Quartz, it was like, he had like maybe 2 security left, and I had like a pretty big board, so I was like, I'm going to Quartz here to make it safe because I don't want to check into a Gift of Darkness and lose the game randomly. Later, I asked if he was on Omnimon's Wart because that's the only way that the Gift of Darkness and security can deal with the Quartz, and he wasn't. So we take those. And at this point, I was like, we also had a lunch break, which I wasn't a super big fan of. I don't like lunch breaks because it kind of like cools you off, and I was playing pretty well. And so, like, I think
to be fair, sorry, part of that was also due to a scheduling restriction where some rounds were reported exceptionally late, which isn't really a TO problem so much as a player's not reporting to Limitless problem.
Yeah.
I believe round 4 went super long and it took a really long time. Cameo, that's fun. Shoutouts.
Shoutouts. Hello.
Oh my god, is that top 16 Bloomlord player Emilini Townsend?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
If only there was some place I could watch a deck profile featuring her thoughts and opinions on how to play the deck in this current metagame. Current, ignoring the fact that it's already over.
Yeah, that would be a real thing. It's real unfortunate. Instead, I was editing our special guests episode, which we're just like, oh yeah, it will come out. It will, like, go watch the podcast, and like then it comes out before the episode. I'm like, I'm not re-rendering the video.
Happens.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying about your game after lunch.
Yeah, so the Alphamon player, I think it was the one after lunch, and then, like, I must have used all my brain power trying to beat fucking Alphamon. I just overheated, and I played, like, super poorly into Hunters. Hunters is a weird matchup. Like, it's not great, but you can definitely win. It was just, I didn't see my pieces, in the time that I needed to. He wasn't necessarily, like, a high roll, but, like, his Damemon hit Taiga, and I'm like, how am I supposed to beat that? Like, I can't. Like, he cheated on a mem setter and gets to keep a bottom board. He also saw the jamming Clockmon, like, all of his games. So it was just like, he was checking into my security, and it was just Digimon. There were no tamers, no boosts, no nothing. It was just like, my deck just turned off as well. I burned out, and my deck turned off. So that's basically where my run ended. It was still 5-2, or 6-2 rather. No, 5-2. We played 7 rounds, yeah. And it's unfortunate that I went out that way for a matchup that I was very comfortable into, just my deck did not perform, so happens. But yeah, then I was like, oh, I guess I get to play day 2, so that was cool.
We could talk about the 14-side event after.
Yeah, we'll do the 14-side event after.
Yeah, then our last one, Mr. Special Guest.
Woo! I'll try to speed through this because we've gone through profiles for a little bit, and also like there's only a couple games where like interesting things happened. Because the running theme of my run is basically a lot of people who had not either interacted with Alphamon since it got its new cards, or what's it called? Like interacted with Alphamon full stop. So a lot of my matchups were like things that could have been harder but weren't. The best example, of course, being my round 1 versus Royals, where I sit down, my opponent flips Drazzle, and I start sweating bullets. Because, as Saf will happily let you know, it sucks if both people are aware of what the game plan is, where the Royal Knight player realizes that they have so many more copies of BT13 Alphamon than you do, to the point where you really can't do anything about it. The problem is, and what I realized during the matchup, is that if your opponent doesn't know the game plan, they don't know when to Alphamon, because you have to do it preemptively to stop, like, Royal Knights has to preemptively Alphamon, if you will. Otherwise, I just kill them out of thin air, and then that's the end of the game. They don't have a chance to, fight back. My opponent didn't really know when my go turns were, so they didn't do it preemptively ever, and as such, they died for it, which I'll take it. They, again, running theme of the day, admitted afterwards that they did not have an Alphamon player at their locals, so they didn't really know, like, what I was up to until it was too late.
I was
They
not
also learned a very
familiar with your
unfortunate-
game.
Yeah, I was not familiar with your game. They learned a very, very, very unfortunate thing as well, which is Oryukin deletes all Digimon with the highest play cost, and a couple of them really do cost 11. My round 2 was my only loss on the day, and it was 1-2 versus Machine. And it was a really stressful one because it was a loss due to... Oh, no Johns. But it was a loss due to game 3, a situation where I was able to actually clear a robot off the board and probably develop enough tempo to win, going horribly wrong when BT13 Dorugreymon revealed both of my Oryukins, resulting in one of them being trashed and one of them being loaded as a source, meaning that I had to play the entire remainder of the game without Alphamon Oryukin. Translator's note, you cannot do that. That does not work. But that's fun. That was after that round. Marcio found me, looked at me, and said, "It's fine. Just don't lose another game." He was right, and I didn't. My round 3 was versus Sukuyamon. I'm sorry, Terry. I'm sorry, Terry. I'm sorry it had to be.
That was a tough one to be sat next to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I can see him over my shoulder.
His round 2 was also Alphamon. So, like, he went Alphamon that he beat into me, and it did not go the same way. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, I was playing a Hexablow at that point. I'm just like, you know, staring into a different dimension, trying to figure out how I get through this blue hell. And I go, oh, it's Terry. And then I look across and I just see the streak, and I go, oh no.
It's Terry and Harry.
Yeah, not great. My round 4 was versus Beals. Game 1, I just died. I kind of like forgot how fast Beals could be until he had already murdered me. Game 2, he had a slow enough start where I could keep up and like clear stuff off the board while protecting my stack, and then eventually just resolved in OTK. Game 3, he bricked. It's like the Beelzemon conundrum, right? Like when you have to play that many options as engine, you forfeit a couple games periodically to holding 6 copies of Gaia Force. It is what it is. My round 5 was versus Hunters. There was a moment where my game, the game to my left, and the game to that game's left had 3 Hunters across those tables. 2 of the Hunters players were just fucking doing donuts on their opponent. The rest of the Digimons were tucking shit. They were swinging for game. They sped run their matches. And my Hunters player said, and I quote, "At least they're having fun," as he sits and looks at BT13 Alphamon, who I have explained to him a couple times now that he cannot tuck it. It is like one of the few cards in the game that is permanently immune to superior mode. Game 1, he can't tuck it. I swing for lethal. It's fine, whatever. Game 2, he finds Tuarmon, which he's on for reasons. DDGL's my Alphamon, and there's no tamer, so he has to tuck the now Dorugreymon underneath. He has to now tuck the Dorugreymon underneath the only body on my field, which is another Dorumon. And it passes me quite a lot of memory because he has to go Tuarmon as his 4, then Arrestor Digimon Superior Mode as his 5, so it costs a ton of memory to get rid of it. So I start my turn with like 5 memory and a Dorumon with a Dorugreymon under it.
That's not normal.
Not the strangest, not like probably the strangest combo I've ever had to resolve, but hey, it made an Oryukin that cleared the board, and that probably wins the game.
I don't know. You've put the Ghost Alpha under rookies that should not
Dorimon.
have it.
Yeah, but that draws a card. The dude just did not want to win, for real. Round 6 was versus Beals. Again, this is the only matchup that I played twice in day 1, was versus Beals twice. Game 1, he's like, my opponent was not fast enough. They didn't have like stuff to aggro me down fast enough, so the OTK just resolved at like all just like the simulations, etc., etc. Game 2, I disrespect his their ability to push lethal. They go for it. I realize I'm destined to die, and then Beelzemon checks Oryukin in security and dies. But I'm still so far behind on security and tempo that like I still lose that game. Which honestly, I would prefer that. I didn't want like my my ending up here to be off the back of my funny bad Gaia Force. I think that was the only time Oryukin security killed anything as well, or killed anything that killed anything that like a normal level 6 wouldn't have. Game 3, it's Beals. Half the deck is Gaia Forces. Very slow start into a situation where I remembered the strategy versus Beals. Oryumon is invincible. Oryumon is not once per turn deletion immune. He is permanently deletion immune.
I'd actually prefer if we didn't say his name for the rest of the
podcast.
I'm sorry. It's all the same. I spent a lot of time looking at Oryumons.
Sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes
for sure. And that's the thing, is despite how much like the 40th percentile point difference between Harry and the rest of the Alphamons in the room, even those Alphamons did resolve Oryumon big wall a couple times. So
every so often,
it's in their back pocket.
The deck reminds you it is Black X antibody.
Yeah.
It goes
Dorugoramon watching from the window.
Forgive me, I'm about to go back to the old me.
Yeah, no, but the game 3 ends in a situation where BT7 Dorugoramon purposefully left exposed because I'm holding a Dex Dorugray for next turn and Cool Boys and an Oryumon on board after clearing them off the board. So they're hatching a Tama, so they don't have a Digimon to play with on board. And if they can't play removal spells on my guys because my guys are invincible. And then next turn I just kill. Like, cool, interesting game of Digimon. And then that leads into my round 7 against Shine, which actually was an interesting game of Digimon. Game 1. Shine Greymon, just like the simulations. This was against a very an actual close friend. It was unfortunate that my last round had to be an additional team kill, but on the upside, at least it meant one of us was making day 2, and we both sat down with that as like knowledge, like cheering us on. And game 1, Alphamon, just like the simulations, I do all my stuff and end under a Congo, or I believe preemptive. There's a Congo resolved is the point, and if you resolve Congo versus Shine at the right time, you win the game. Yay. Game 2.
I was sat next to you.
Yeah, game 2, I am not faster than the situation that happens. The point with Alphamon is that like you can in theory manage Shine's lower rolls provided you open playable. I did not open playable, and Shine not high rolled but like medium rolled, so I was gone. I met God. Rise Greymon got Shine Greymon Birth Mode got hands, and so does Marcus. Game 3, we both brick in a way that is truly tragic. That results in a game state where I have a Dorugamon on board, the BT13 4-cost 1, a Dorugamon with BT13 Dorumon in Nursery, a singular Cool Boy, a Dex Doruga in hand, and my opponent is on some count of Marcus's and like an Agumon in the Nursery. Clearly they don't have a level 4. Their play of choice is to slam a 7-cost Rise Greymon. I'm guessing to enable probably some amount of top end in their hand, which makes sense. And in theory, I would struggle to out it should I not have full combo, which, judging by the hard-played Dorugamon for 4 on my turn, would make sense to read that I'm on an awkward hand. My hand does have Oryumon in it, though, so I'm like, okay, if I can find literally any level 5 here off of, like, the draw for Evolve and the draw for Cool Boy, or there might not have been a Cool Boy, it might have been Memories, but if I can find anything off the draw for Evolve, like even Dex Dorugreymon, I can go into Oryumon, pop this Rise Greymon, and we're fine. I Evolve, I don't find it. I'm like, okay, do I have a backup plan? And I'm looking at my hand, and I spot a very, 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 very silly lethal clock, where my hand is a Yuji, a Oryumon, Alphamon BT13, Final Zubagon Punch, and an additional BT13 Dorugamon. This is technically lethal in 3 turns if everything works. So Dex Doruga pitches the Oryumon, and for 6, I play BT13 Alphamon, and on play, I pick up an X Antibody Digimon or Royal Knight, I grab my Oryumon, and say go to my opponent. They elect to swing their Rise Greymon in, probably realizing that if it turns into Shine, it won't make it back to them. So they swing for it. I will happily trade my blocker Retaliate Dextoruga because it's not doing anything, so I'm not holding any 5s or 3s for the nursery. So I'll take that trade. They have now found a 4 as well, so I'm guessing they're trying to clear me off the board because they evolve into a Geo Gray in the back and play a Marcus, the BT12 1 for 4. So they pass me over to 4. And at this point, my hand is now like things have shaped up for me. I'm holding the Geo Greymon would be scary, but I have like found a Congo, so I can go UG for 3 and Congo for 2 on my turn. But what I end up doing is to make sure that I can get through with the Zubagon punch. It's play the UG for 3, swing Alphamon, suspend the UG to load a Doruga. So now he's 13 base, so the Zubagon punch works on him next turn. So that now the actual lethal clock is in effect. The other advantage to this is I swing and check a Shine Greymon, like a regular one, and that's 12 exactly, so my Alphamon just barely lives by being 13. Damn, I'm nice.
We prepared for that.
We prepared for that. Shout out to Tommy Tricks. I'm never getting Gonkomon Dexed ever again. End of attack, restand, and then I just pass into one by playing the Congo. Just it's Shine Greymon. They can't really do much when they're like passing their Congo with like BT12 Marcuses as their only tamers. They play a BT12 Agumon to pass back to me, and I think it finds like Shine Greymon and Shine Greymon burst mode, and I think they took the burst mode theirs, so it was like the telegraphing of, oh, this is my last turn to play. They are holding the rest of it. But the playing 3 for the BT12 Agumon gives me the 2 for Zubagon, so it's 2 for Zubagon punch targeting the Alphamon. He's now 16, so he gets the extra checks. Swing, suspend UG, load Grademon to pop the Agumon, end of attack. Which then beats a BT13 Marcus if it were in security. It wasn't, so I get away with it, but it's like 2 checks, a restand, 2 checks, and the Doruga, who's been there for like the entire time watching this awful, awful game of Digimon being played, gets to swing direct for game. And I had at that point decided that was the peak of my Alphamon career, because Mr. TommyNT made a joke about this when BT13 was being revealed of the funniest thing that any Royal Knight deck in BT13 will ever be able to do is, in case of emergency, you can slam your 6s. And I got to do it. And I was like, oh, that's the funniest thing I will do during this event.
Wrong.
So anyways, day 2. I make top 16 as a result of this, and my seeding has me in a very funny position where I am playing versus Machine round 1. And not just Machine, but the Machine player who beat me day 1. So this is a chance to get a run back on a matchup that I lost, which I'll take it. Like, Machine versus Alphamon stresses me out because Machine stresses me out, but it's fine. I think I know what I'm doing, and I think I know how to win. Game 1, they still are like unsure of the Alphamon matchup because it's super uncommon deck, so that makes sense. And I am just allowed to get an OTK off, and like I'm playing, I get to play simple. Game 2, I end up in a situation where there's an Analog Man on board, a BT11 Machine on board, a Chaosdramon regular with a couple sources to protect itself, and a known EX1 Machine in hand. I have enough memory to make an Alphamon, and I believe a spare body on board at the start of it, so I can, in theory, make the 2 BT9 Alphas in my hand, D-Digivolve both of these robots back into level 5s, and then, or you can at some point during that turn to clear both of them and swing for game. I missequence during the turn, so I end up having to get a sword under Alphamon by swinging it, loading with UG. So I have to swing a BT9 Alphamon at 13k. It hits Chaosdramon X, which is exactly enough to kill it, which is tragic, but it is what it is. And then I bleed out for the rest of that game. I've thrown all my resources under these 2 stacks, and both of them die. Game 3. So the Machine player has kind of realized that if you throw robots at me in a way that isn't sufficient, I can dismantle most of them. So they have elected to play they're going to wait until they find, I think they were waiting probably for like enough Analog Mans and then a combination of Chaosdramon X to load enough sources to keep their robot safe. In doing that, they gave me enough time I had a Ryudamon stuck to the board, a Dorugamon in the back, and enough memory to go for it. Time had already been called at this point, and my opponent had chipped with a Hagurumon. It hit a Zubagon punch, which was unlucky for them. But I was down in security, so I had to go. So I promote my Dorugamon, all my effects trigger, blah, 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 blah. We make an Oryuken. And this Oryuken has, I believe he's going to be 2 checks, then 3 checks, because it was either double Zubagon punch or the 1F had materialized because lol, they're still in the game. And at this point, I realized I have a bunch of memory spare because I had too much to work with. So the only thing I can lose to, because the comedy of this event was day 2 was done effectively as open deck lists, because for some reason they published top 16's deck lists before day 2. So I knew that.
They usually the day 2, like we usually don't get day 2s, and it felt like a formality type thing where it was like a bonus So usually
Yeah.
when the events end, they just publish the deck list. That's just what they always do.
Yep.
But they didn't know how like this would impact like day 2 because everybody just knew what everybody was on.
Yeah, I had a list of both of our Bloomlord players had a list of every deck that had Death X in it. I had a list of everyone whose security had options that could actually stop me. And in this case, I knew that the Machine Drawn player was only on one option that had a security effect that mattered. What is it called?
Attack of the Heavy Metal.
Attack of the Heavy Metal Digimon.
Attack of the Heavy Metal Digimon. The
Isn't it
zero cost
Mobile
one that is
Digimon?
meant to give whatever it is. The one that you're supposed to use to like play your robot and give it rush blitz to attack for game. In this instance, though, the security effect is what matters, where from security, you can discard a cyborg or machine and pop a Digimon that has a play cost less than the cyborg or machine you discard. I do not have an additional sword, so my only way to get lethal here is Alphamon has to check all of the security, and the tiny little Ryudamon who's just hanging out, he has to go and kill someone. And so, at some point during this turn, I had to play an additional Ryudamon. This one was not capable of attacking, so it played that turn, obviously, to find some more pieces. And at this moment, I now realize what must be done. BT8 Ryudamon's inheritable is often a joke we talk about, because it came out in a set with a level 6 that was fully immune to deletion, and his inheritable is Decoy Black while he's underneath the next antibody. And in this instance, it did exactly what it needed to. I put a Dextoruga on top of the Ryudamon that could not attack, and then while Alphamon was checking security, attack actually did pop out. They did have a machine that cost more than 3, shocker. They discarded it to pop the Ryudamon that could attack, and I got to substitute the deletion with the decoy under the Dextoruga and swing Ryudamon for game. Shoutouts to Judge Jambo for recreating the meme of the guy doing this as he watched as I declared decoy. I wish I had robot eyes so I could have taken a picture of that. Felt pretty good.
It was unbelievable.
It was.
You should have heard the room. You should have heard the room.
Dude, that match
decoy.
was...
I kept hearing people just say decoy.
Most of this keyword's ever been talked about.
I was too late to the round to like get photo permission before that, but that match had actually some of the best photo ops of like the rest of the day. Like we got a pretty good one for you in the article, but damn, I was just like, watch it. Like the Jambo decoy react would have been fire, man.
It would have been good.
Andrew, for all intents and purposes, unless I specify otherwise at an event, you have express permission to take photos of me at any Digimon event we go to as a group.
Yeah, it was more the other people.
Oh yeah,
you were barely gonna get asked.
But yeah, so that was my round 1. That was top 16 to top 8. My top 8 game was a little tragic. Game 1 versus Blue. It was versus Blue Flare. Game 1 they aggro me down. I can't stop it. Game 2 I end up in a very strange game state where I'm playing BT9 Alphamon Control. Like, I'm just sat on it with enough inherits that it's bigger than everything in security, and it has a Grademon underneath it, so it's just popping every little body that hits the board. So eventually, that's just enough where that plus the body from Nursery, like, I never give them a second body to give restands and stuff. And the Alphamon is, like, getting blocker and stuff so that, red Greymons, like, won't be able to ignore him. So, like, I'm just killing him slowly until eventually I have the OTK line. In the game 3, tragically, time is called while I have game on board, and my opponent had shipped more security because they were an aggressive deck, of course they had. So I just lose in time because I do the security differential, but it is what it is. On the upside, at least that person then went on to win the entire event, which means...
it was not close either. From the little of the games I saw, it was
them versus what, Shine, then Raid War Greymon?
Yeah. It was kind of wraps.
What do you raid into? The robots are the what's it called? The Metal Greymons are all already sideways. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot more to say than that. The result of my opponent placing first, the person who beat me placing first, resulted in my resistances making me 5th, which, unless something has not been submitted or recorded on Eggman's website, I believe makes me the highest placing Alphamon in the West's BT13 format.
Yes,
which is pretty
true.
nice.
That is, you would be the highest officially sanctioned Alphamon run.
Nice.
And I just went through and checked some LATAM stuff as well, because there were some Alphamon dubs there, but they did not make it higher than 6th. Previously, I think it was like Frozen.
I think what worked out really well for you was the base that we got it off. I believe it was from like Frozen or someone, which at that point
that was like the base we worked off of. That was like the base we worked off of, but like there was a couple things that like not disagreed with, but like a couple tech cards that like I think
Yeah, of
really
course.
like if you can flex your knowledge with this deck, there's a couple tech cards you can play that really like improve your
You-
ability to play certain
Oh,
situations.
you're the only guy with Grademon.
I was gonna say, if you check the Limitless page for it, there is of the, I believe, 7 Alphamon lists. There is on average 0.29 grade bonds per deck, meaning mine was the only one. And oh man, he killed a lot of rookies. But the Grademon inherit.
Also, you're not on Sunariza, which is a massive
I am
thing.
not
Like
on
the next
Sunariza.
highest
Everybody
places,
played it.
everyone's on it.
The
And-
theory was that like Sunariza
Zubagon,
just
you can't get a Sunariza in the stack later, but you can draw Zubagon Punch or load what's his name? Load Dorgrimmon. So like don't plan for Sunariza stacks because like your deck is now proficient enough that you don't need to plan for those. You can instead play like a bricky option instead of a bricky rookie. And then like now that your rookies are all like Antibody, Cool Boy lets you play this super greedy like 10 rookies as the maximum count. And like what is it? I was on 3 Black Memory Boost, 4 Cool Boy, and then 10 rookies. And like I missed rookie only in like the 2 games versus Shine and like 1 versus Blue Flare, and that was it.
the other thing is that the 1KD just having more access to 1KDPs.
I did not get ruin moded during the day, but like if you're not playing BC13 Dorumon, you just get turn skipped by ruin mode unless they go for the 10k. But if they go for the 10k, they're only doing it for 1 turn, in which case you can just kill them on the crackback pretty easily.
Yeah.
The theory worked out pretty well. Like the 1KDP just made your deck more consistent.
Also,
and
the
Carolina
last
was
minute
just
change
good.
we made of we cut the coda.
Oh,
for
this
the
was the thing
copy.
that you were bouncing this back and forth. There were 2 cards that you. Do you wanna...
I was constantly because I've always been a big always quote unquote been a big advocate for Grademon. Marcio beats my ass when I take him out because I'll just look at a Terriermon and scream. Because you can only deck store Greymon at certain points in the turn, whereas Grademon lets you cheat around certain interactions. Also, Grademon lets you play like the greedier lineup of like the 2/2/2 for Alphamon, or Ryukin, and that you can just kind of find the one you need. The real thing though that was like the one that we bounced around on a lot was exactly the X Antibody option was a card that was in and out of my list so many times.
And it was also something that you saw like on the other Alphamon decks. There were lists that played it and there were lists that did not play it.
Yeah, it's like it is a card that it will come up in matchups in certain ways that let you like cheat the action economy of your deck and like produce additional memory while keeping extra sources. Also, it has the added utility of like you now have a source that you can't lose, so like you can beat Sorais and stuff if needed. But like it mostly just lets you like cheat specific actions. Like Oryumon's end of attack can be resolved before Oryukin's end of turn. Same with Grademon's. So you can like pop a memory blocker with Grademon and then Oryukin get memory back.
Also,
Very
for the 3v3 that we went to, you were on Coda instead of the option.
Yeah, that was
So-
have to do with the fact that like I felt like I didn't need it because we tested without it, but also because the Griffin's Gaming 3v3 rules were different than the official ones that we now have. Where the official ones are you are as a team allowed a play set of a card between your 3 players. If I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the official.
You shared the ban
whereas-
list.
Yeah, whereas Griffin's Gaming ruled it as a player can your team can only have 1 player playing any number of a card. So like
it was mutual exclusivity.
Yeah, that was it. So it's like at the 3v3 event, there was a point where Marcio was testing for Beals and he wanted to try the X Antibody in it. So I started testing Alphamon without it, and it felt fine enough to the point where I was like, I will just play Coda. At a 3v3, I don't have to win all of my games via tech cards. Instead, I can win via just like lowering my ceiling and playing consistently. And then Marcio and Emily will just carry my lifeless corpse should something go wrong. And things did not go wrong. We ended up winning the 3v3 event, which was really nice.
What's cool about that as well is it meant that we did not have to open. Like, collectively as a group, I think we opened we bought significantly less BT14 than we probably needed to.
6 boxes!
I think like it was 6 boxes, and then like the day 2 stuff, like a few people got even more boxes for free.
Yeah, like Liam and Saf got some boxes.
Yeah, I guess we could talk about the BT14 side event, because in addition to being the last BT13 like sanctioned event, we also were kind of one of the first relatively big BT14 events.
And Oceania?
Yeah.
Technically OC time zones, they beat us by a couple hours.
Okay.
True,
sure.
but do they have cool ass eBay trophies, Tom?
I'll tell you what, though. I actually think they had fewer players than the BT14 Blitz.
Oh, it was only like a 50-something man event.
They were. Oh, actually, just want to confirm that there were 69 people, but I don't think 69 players. They had 69 registrations.
Oh, but
Sorry,
I think
no, tell a lie. They only had 5 more than us.
Yes,
Oh,
but that's
sure.
because our event was capped.
Yeah, they purposely capped our event.
Okay, they can have the first one, but I mean,
We had the.
Only the first one.
Ours was won by Death X Control. Smile.
Yeah, Limitless doesn't love that. So we'll do some quick shout outs to this, I suppose, because the 2 people that we would have normally given a highlight to here of the testing group, Saf and Shinny Carey, both placed Saf respectively first place on Fenrirloogamon, and Shinny Carey.
You sure could, Seth. You sure could.
And Shinny Carey on Mirage Galgamon.
Yeah.
Their lists kind of thrown together based on their testing pre-event, but went pretty well.
They got top 8, and I got top 16.
Shout outs to the team. Good work, gentlemen. You both did really well.
Shout outs to Liam for pulling the most insane box value, like actually.
If we'd like, though, obviously they aren't in the call, so no free clout. But I'll tell you who was in the call was Mr. KBeeDS. KBeeDS, you made top 16. So congratulations on top 16 for the first UK BT14 event. Way to go, bud. You could do it.
He did hard.
How'd it go?
The BT14 event was really fun because half of it was like people that didn't do so well in the first event, and then half of it were people that only showed up for the second event, and then technically there was 3 halves where it was like people that just didn't wanted to play, but didn't have a new deck, so like they were just playing their old deck in the second day event.
Yep, I put trainings in Greymon too.
Yeah, but overall, I think the event was really good. I wanted to enter just for the ability to experience BT14 and see what people would gravitate towards, and get like an early feel for the format, like move cards around, see how people play. Like I wasn't planning on doing well, like a little bit, but also like I'm experienced in my deck and I know how to use cards. It was just like a very quick a lot of it was like my theory, and I wanted to like test some theory. And this was like the quickest, easiest way to do it in a 6-round event. So it was great for that. And I don't mean if you want me to do matchups again, I can just keep it like stupid brief. I played versus Machine. I played versus it was Machine, Gamamon, Royal Knights. After Royal Knights I got deck checked, and I played versus Hunters again, so I lost to Hunters twice in a row, but this time it was because my deck bricked game 1 because I didn't have enough time to like randomize it, so like it was just the feng shui was all gone. Like the night before, the vibes were immaculate. Like I was drawing Agitar like it was my job, and after the deck check, Agitar went kind of MIA. I lost to Hunters. Then we played some friendlies. The person that I lost to, she got second place. She was really strong. And then I lost to third place, and this was in theory decent matchup for me. The new cards like definitely help a lot, but I lost on a coin flip of my Tamas I flipped, because at this point I had already gone through 1 Digi-Egg, and it was the draw one. So then I had 2 power, 2 draw, and unfortunate for me, I rolled the draw egg. Had I rolled the power, I probably would have stayed in the game for a bit longer. Can't tell the outcome, but at least I wouldn't have died on a critical turn that I had to go. But it was a lot of fun nonetheless. And then last round was versus what did I play against last round?
I can tell you if you'd like. I've got the standings here. Your last round
was
Fenrir against a
Fenrir,
teammate.
And it was against another teammate, so I played 2 teammates. Fenrir, it was a weird one. It was half like I saw okay pieces, half he didn't see like a lot of decent cards. And yeah, like it was a really fun event. Like there was decent amount of deck variety, and I think the decks that I was expecting to do well did well. I was expecting Bloom to do well. I was expecting the Brigade to do okay. Fenrir to do well, and it was Saf on Fenrir, so like immediately like positioned to do well. Ulforce showed up, Mirage showed up. Greymon, I think, ended up doing like a little bit okay.
I want to
I
talk
just
about
noticed-
if you leave it,
should I
if you'll throw me here, I would love to talk about Greymon because Greymon had the weirdest showing statistically. I would
Oh,
say
and
of this
second
entire year.
showed up as well, and it was TJ.
Yeah,
He was
The
actually
other one
on
as well
second.
that I noticed there was a jump scare is 15th place Amphimon. Shoutouts to jamming Bukumon.
Oh yeah.
yeah. What a card.
Dude, you really lost to first and second for 16th like it was a double elim bracket.
Shoutouts to the person in chat. Fenrir, what is this Yu-Gi-Oh? What if I told you it resulted in just as many guys causing problems?
Yeah.
But yeah, the event was really solid. The pricing was like really good. Like, because it was like a sponsored event, the pricing for the day 2 event was better than the pricing for the day 1 because you still got the promos and the event packs, but then like top 16 also got deck boxes, which was very
and
cool.
sleeves.
And
Shout out to
sleeves,
the
like
eBay
eBay
trophies.
sleeves and an eBay trophy, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah, bro,
I
I was stood there fighting for my goddamn life, and I'm like, I get 2 packs of the what's it called, like the finalist stamped ones or whatever, and then the acrylic standee, which I used to pay a long-standing debt to Saf for getting me the Dorumon or / Ryudomon acrylic standees at the last event we went to, and then I come back over and Saf's like turbo smurfing in a side event playing full power Fenrir against some people who clearly were not prepared for what that dog was doing. And he comes back over and he's like, yeah, I got a box, a big ass deck box, an eBay standee, and some official eBay sleeves. And I was like, why did I fight for my goddamn life
like
in
3
this?
deck boxes, I think.
Yeah, he got a double deck box and 2 sidewinders.
Yes,
I
I've
think.
got 2 deck boxes.
Oh,
Yeah,
2 deck
there you
boxes.
go. There's my guy Shinny Carry with the the eBay trophy.
It's so good, man.
So good. For those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, find this timestamp in
Image
the
description:
bottom
Reddit
section.
bucket hat and a guy holding an eBay 3D printed trophy standee and a sealed box of eBay branded eBay Dragon Shield custom sleeves.
Here we go. Here's
Oh,
Seth's
yeah.
prize. You got 3 deck boxes, 2 sidewinders, and a double deck box.
Bruh.
This time it's
Deck
not you
boxes,
would
2 of which were sidewinders and a double deck box. That's crazy, bro.
this time it wasn't like
Why did we give out so much eBay
it was
stuff?
good, it was good.
They were
It was
sponsors.
heat, bro.
But this time it's
If you
not
could've
like how to
typed some of
build
that for the main
Imperial.
event, it would have been lit though.
This time he's going to trigger Reddit by like how to maybe build Barrage your way if you want to. No pressure, bro. It's kind of the deck can kind of do whatever you want.
Trainings are really good. Play them.
I want to point out he was not wearing the eBay hat for most of the event. That was immediately I placed in the money, the smug
Reddit hat
smile,
goes
and
on.
he had that on lock. Like we made the joke, and it was like back pocket immediate outfit switches. Like I'm ready to cause trouble.
He kept that MF thing on him literally the entire day with hope in his heart that he would get to do this again.
It was
And
pretty sick.
goddamn, he was right.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah. Overall, event pretty cool. What are our thoughts on 13 as a whole, would you say? Like a quick rundown, because it was a pretty long format. We're obviously going into a much faster format for 14, but since we got to play it for so long, plus RBO1, like I guess a post-mortem of it before we never see it again.
Can I throw out a hot take here first?
Go on.
Go ahead.
Best format of the year. Comparing it to if you'll permit me, EX3 technically came out in 2022. So I don't think
What were the other formats this year specifically?
11,
12.
12, EX4,
right.
13, and I guess 13 plus RB1. I would
I
not
didn't
play
mind.
the metric I keep using is if we had to play any of the other formats for the extremely long period of time we played this one, BT11 would be miserable, BT12 would suck. It wouldn't be as bad as 11, but it would suck. And EX4 is too samey. This is essentially EX4 with perks.
I think if we'd gotten different promos sooner, it would have been like undisputed GOAT. Like I'm glad we didn't get trainings because then this format would have sucked.
But maybe the anniversary pack or the update pack.
Give me promos, Supermon, please.
I was gonna say like the being behind on promos always is just sad because there's like decks that these promos like go in that they make them significantly better, but not in a way where they'll be meta contending. But like the delay on them, like we just got the Skull Knight promo, and like that's a pretty like decent buff to Boggra style decks and Dark Knight style decks, and like it's a really nice like card that we both get to play, but like it's not enough of a buff for either of us to really like I don't know either style of deck to really like run away with it.
13,
But,
I think it'll be like look back, it'll be like a fun format. Like, people have good memories. If it was a wide format, you could play whatever you wanted. There wasn't like one deck that was strictly better than the other. If you like look past like Shine, when
Yeah,
like
the
Shine as
And
a thing.
Belfa.
The only two
Belfa
standout things.
theoretically was like one of the stronger decks, but I think it's
Its
like
play
not,
rate was not as high by any stretch.
yeah.
It didn't just
The
see the
thing with
conversion.
13 specifically is that like that I think is really interesting is like obviously how wide the format is, but also like the only first of all the only problem with it is the Shine being the worst tier 1 deck we've ever had, not because like not in terms of like the most obnoxious or the strongest tier 1 deck, because like 1 in every 3 games Shine will just not function. Like something will go wrong and it just will not work, and that's what makes Shine so frustrating. Is that like one game they'll see like 2 BT12 Marcuses in full ride line, and you just die, and it's like, oh cool, what was I supposed to do? And then another game they're like, I have seen no BT12 Marcuses, so my deck is playing fair, and it's just like doesn't do anything. You're like, okay, well, that was a really interesting best of 3 where they didn't play a game, I didn't play a game, and then we played like one real game of Digimon.
I think 14 has the potential to be like a really good format, but we will just not get given the time to enjoy it, because like Europe is like, okay, we have to prepare for Euros, which is literally not this weekend, next weekend. So like any fun that I would want to have with the format, I have to immediately start testing and like putting in the time, and then like after that it's like the little bit of time that there's left over, now we're just looking towards the X5, which is arguably like a really good like format, but that's like something that we'll get next year.
One of the last thing I'll say on 13 though, because it was like the 2 points, like the one like the big detractor for me is like the variance of Shine's ability to like be a good deck. But the cool thing with 13 that I think was really relevant is like it was a really wide format, but it was a wide format in a fun way where it was like I think every color had at least like a couple viable decks. Like if you wanted to play red, you could play like a Greymon pile, or you could play Jessmon, or you could play Red Hybrid. If you wanted to play blue, you could play Blue Flare, you could play Mirage. Probably another thing in Melga.
Ulforce is always still playable as well.
Yeah,
Ulforce, sorry, Ulforce won something this format. It won a regional. This was
do not underestimate Ulforce Endies. They draw arena like it's their job. Parentheses, it is. They need to pay off the price for their secrets.
They took a loan out for their all arenas.
That eBay sponsorship going crazy.
Green had Bloom only.
Yeah, you could argue that like Rose Bloom was a thing, but it didn't really. Did it ever really convert? Like,
Rose had tops, but it did not win anything. Bloom
Rose had a top in Oceania, like pure Rose had a top in Oceania, and a Blue Rose hybrid did okay like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so the only thing you could argue that like Bloom Rose was a separate entity, but that was like green was like the most quote unquote restricted color. But like even then, you still had like you had like an option of something to try with it.
Even then, Mr. Like, Johnny Lowe would not simply miss top 8, even with the restrictions.
True.
And then you go, what was the next one? It was if you go purple next. It's like they had Belfa and Beals as very functional decks. Like you could play both of those. And also like if you have a sociopath who wants to like read a card that has text that predates like modern human history,
your local
it says
team.
Rush on it, so who cares? Then like go for it. And what's left?
Black.
Black. You could.
Black had a lot of stuff. This is a pretty good format for Black.
Machine, you play Alphamon, but like also Machine and like Black War Greymon, like those kinds of cards, like very functional. I think like the color that was probably like the worst off would be yellow.
Yellow for sure.
Like there wasn't really like a suit. I guess that Shine Greymon probably is the yellow deck to talk about there. But like Shine Greymon is like
it falls into that
Greymon. Yeah, I was saying it falls into that Greymon umbrella where it's like you just get access to these color options. Not really you get like because your cards all evolve on Geo Greymon, evolve on Rise Greymon, evolve on Shine Greymon by bouncing markers.
Yeah, and there's only so much yellow vaccine you can put in before eventually it just becomes Shine.
Yeah. Statistically speaking, the best placing and converting yellow decks after Shine are Setcon and Mastamon with the same number of each.
And then like there's also like I want to say 3 viable separate color entity decks where you could have taken Hunters, Royal Knights, or like even Crossheart to an event and done relatively well.
Crossheart tops this one, didn't it?
Merva Heart,
Merva Heart got top 16,
No, not top 16. No. 17th, it was a bubble.
30. It was top 32, right?
It definitely bubbled for sure.
Yeah.
11th in July regionals, 13th, August 5th.
Were those both Merva Heart, or is that just Crossheart as a whole?
August 5th art was Mervacross. August 11th was like a traditional X7 cross art.
There you go. Yeah, so like there was like
Or
lots of
July
viable,
11th.
like that was the appeal of this format to me, was that like it wasn't just like a wide format and like you can play every color. It's like, no, you can play every color and you can play different styles in every color. Like, I don't know. Like if you wanted to play black, you could play, like the two of the best control decks in the game of Black War Greymon or Machine Dramon, or you could take the X antibody and murder someone with it.
Yeah.
Good enough format. I'm not biased because it has a golden copy of BT13 Alphamon in it. You're biased because it has a golden copy of your Royal Knight in its smile. Unless you're an Examon player, in which case I'm sorry that they lied to you and told you were getting a new Examon.
But anyway, next weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after, we'll have Euros coming up, so Euros talk.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to do too much. We could probably do a meta call, because...
Or we can just do it like a dedicated thing next week if you want.
Yeah, I say maybe next week we do like a full-on thing, but like...
Do we want to call one thing out now and see what we feel in a week?
For context, you three are going to Euros, right? It's just me that's not.
Yes. We are all going to Euros.
Yeah, so
very stressful.
I've told everybody who will hear me what my prediction for the format is. And it's not like I said last time on the podcast, this is not a market watch. If you want my called shot, get your D Brigade cards early, because I think D Brigade is going to really impress.
D Brigade is a very deceptive deck.
Provided people take the DCD bombs out of their deck before they judge
and
on them, I think it'll go well.
That's correct. And also that they
this
really
is your warning. Take the DCD bombs out of your D Brigade deck. Brigade Dramon cannot play them.
Yeah. Also, the amount of practice from this to a previous D Brigade list is a night and day. I've been spending a lot of time talking about this with notable Swarm enjoyer Johnny Lowe, and the sequencing in New D Brigade is a fun puzzle to practice. And if people have been putting in the my expectations to 1 to 2 D Brigades. I'm a big believer. I genuinely think we'll see 1 to 2.
I think with D Brigade, it's half of a deck building puzzle and half of like a pilot thing, because like reorganizing your deck and knowing like how to sequence things and play around is like super important.
I think it's interesting because D Brigade was like traditionally a stupidly aggressive deck. Like there was no backup plan. It was just, I'm gonna throw Commandermons at you and hope Dark Dramon is like a 3-cost rough body for game is enough. Whereas now D Brigade has like a real like true blue mid-range game plan of, if you can identify who the beatdown is, you can still play that, go forth my Commandermons and vibe check the security.
Now with jamming.
Occasionally. Or the alternative is present now of, you can also, if you're against a even more aggressive deck than you, or if you end up falling behind at any point in the game, you can, Brigade Dramon, deploy the squad, roll out, and make literally just too many guys to interact with.
There was like 2 D Brigade deck lists in the top I don't know if it was the top 8 or the top 16 for the day 2 event.
One got
D Brigade one got 4th and then the other got 16th, right?
4th, 7th, 12th, 13th. Those were our top 16 placements.
So 3 D Brigades, right?
4 D Brigades in top 16.
Sorry. And I think that was like immediately, like when you look at 14, it's like one of the decks that stands out. It's like D Brigade, beloved like deck. People love D Brigade. It's very affordable. It does a very good game plan. It's very fun to play, and like it catches a lot of people off of guard. I think if people are prepared for it, the deck has some like really truly awful matchup. Like Blue Third's awful. Any Quartz deck is awful.
Sometimes the mirror is very cursed with protect for the mirror.
Armor's not good either.
Yeah. And the thing is that like if you notice a lot of the lists, a lot of them were not on like the training and stuff. Some of them were not super optimized. It was just kind of like what people perceived what the deck would look like.
I have got my copies of Satsuki. I have got my copies of Brigade Dramon.
There was so much more emphasis on Pride Memory Boost than there was on training.
There was a lot of emphasis on
Pride.
Strange. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I think it worked out for the 14 side event because it's a very aggressive card. It builds a lot of advantage. It adds high roll to your deck. If you get the high Commandramon, you now played a free level 4 that's swinging, plusing you, and you get 2 extra memory to work with. However, it takes away from the consistency of the deck. Because like the Brigade Dramons or the Tamers that you would need, now they're going to the trash as opposed to going to your hand. It could also be that people didn't have their trainings in time. This was literally like the first event of the weekend that like the trainings were available for. So unless you and your homies managed to like trade trainings with each other, a lot of people probably just didn't have them. So they were like, what's the next best thing that I can work with? Well, Black Memory Boost is probably too slow. I want a card that like lets me aggro, and like any that's trying to set up and play trainings, I'll just beat their face in. And I think that's like the role that Pride ended up having.
I agree with that.
And yeah, I think some of it was like, I don't think there was like anybody on Congo, because I don't think they were prepared for like Fenrir and stuff, and like Shine, and there were also like very little Trident Arm, which are like
the DCD
Yeah.
bomb was in place
A
of
lot
all
of
the
the-
correct options.
yeah, and a lot of people were trying to play DC. Like there were a lot of judge calls where like the Brigade was like DCD bomb. It's like, no, you can't do that. So I think it's like the card stands out and people like gravitate towards it, but like there
I also
wasn't a
think
lot
it's
of
interesting-
refinement.
If you go back to the top 16, one of the things that interests me the most is like Fenrir is like this expected like standout, smash deck, but then like you look here, maybe
It
this
didn't
is just because
convert that
people
well.
didn't have, maybe it's just because people didn't have their like couldn't get their hands on the cards. Maybe like XYZ thing happened. There's one Fenrir in this top 16. Like when's the deck? Because like what's listed as like
20th?
other.
No, I think.
Saf is the Harry is correct. Saf is the only Fenrir in top 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next highest place. What was this guy? That was. 18th.
Yeah, so like obviously it still did very well, but like Fenrir is like, I think it's a deck where it has a good Fenrir pilot can run away with an entire event. See, Saf beating Setcon in a deck that has no option immunity because hey, sometimes if you just spawn a bunch of cats and like they each check one security, that's enough.
He beat Secon as well, by the way.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like Saf literally just like a deck that does not have a native game plan into Setcon. Like you don't have a protection or a don't check options style effect. You just brute force it. Fenrir being able to spawn 4 bodies over the course of its combo and just converting those into damage either through alliance, and if something happens to your dog, so be it, you get to keep the allianced body, or the alternative of rush Gatomon's checking security and just going, go ahead, you can kill these cats. They're not gonna you can kill the next cat. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah, it's don't check Holy Wave in security.
Something notable, like if you have a look at like the Ulforce list, like I already knew about this list. It was crafted by Jambo, and the person that played a Golem, he was the Games Expo.
He was
Ultimate Cup winner,
won
right?
Ulti Cup.
Yes, he was the Ultimate Cup winner in Games Expo, and the list is like a very well crafted list. There are a couple of things that like trigger my fight or flight response, like 3 Ulforce, and I'm like, I'm not playing that deck without any less than 4. But like some people are like, I will just draw it, and they're him.
This option also is like this is the thing I just noticed Andrew highlighting. The thing that Ulforce really has the biggest nightmare scenario with is it literally cannot natively out quartz with a single one of its
spend an
cards.
option. That's it.
Yeah, you don't gate enough DP, and then all of Ulforce's removal style effects are contingent on it being able to unsuspend in the first place. So you have to play an option to out the what's it called? To out quartz, but also in this case they managed to find an option that outs quartz and outs bodies in such a way where it is not instant death versus Bloom Lord by virtue of only outing the quartz and then dying to the rest of the board. You can clear enough stragglers, but also they found an option where if Fenrir checks it, you get rid of the Fenrir and several of the bodies that they are alliancing with, then swinging with, so it actually puts them even further back because now their reanimation targets are back in their hand.
And like the quality of tamers that Ulforce gets to play, like Joe is like a crazy good tamer. Like
I am not looking forward to checking Joe.
Joe is a phenomenal tamer. Like if your opponent has a body on board, Joe is effectively a Hammer Spark, which like it's a tamer that like extends Ulforce turns, which is really, really nice. It plays extremely well with the Gomamon and the Zudo package. So if you look at like the Ulforce deck, right, it's basically split into 3, where you have your Ulforce cards, you have your Leo package to give you that like mid-range game plan, like that offense defense, and now you also have the Source Strip stuff, which is extremely well positioned versus like the Greymons, and also the Joe is an extender, and it gives your deck interaction on your opponent's turn more than like the blocker like defense line. Like the deck now can actually play like a true back and forth. You don't have to play for just the like Arrow v Dramon like Sec +1 like OTK style. You could actually like do something, pause, and then like tell your opponent respond or like play for the board or whatever.
We were testing it. We were testing it recently, just like going off of like a nearly identical list to the one that was provided to us by Jambo, like mentioned, and like it has. This is the most impressed I've ever been by Ulforce outside of like high roll games. Cause like when you high roll in Ulforce, it's like, oh wow, they saw everything and I died. Cool, like 4 arenas in hand, way to go, champ. But like this was like 1 arena and like 2 random tamers, like a Joe and a Jerry, and it's like, oh, why is this thing like generating this much passive threat and advantage? It's crazy. It's like, I don't know.
It's very nice.
Real as hell. I think the thing that it will have though is that like your technical play and your sequencing has to be on point, because like if you just try to play Ulforce like without knowing what you're trying to create as your end board, you'll just play yourself into circles, end up as single stack with limited protection, and explode into the sun.
The last thing I want to point out here, before I think we've basically looked at everything that would be not what you'd expect to see from a 14 event, is the 8th place list from player Fluis. It's called Mirage, but that's Blue Hybrid, and it was by far the best.
We have the list?
Yes, it's the best placing blue deck here that wasn't Shinny Carry. So
can we have a look at it? Because I'm interested in Blue Hybrid.
It's Mirage top end for Blue Hybrid. It is exactly what you would want it to be. It's pretty crazy. The things that the list did that I thought were really neat is it's 4 Sorai, 2 blue training, 1 Ice Wall for its option suite, basically hunting down Royal Knights like a dog. And then 4 Goma, 4 Strabi, 4 Strabi. The Strabimon in particular that extends when you swing as a hybrid for the +1 memory was an understood quantity to be very good with Lanamon, and is even better when you evolve the Lanamon over the Strabimon coming out of Raising and had jamming and +2 memory on swings. You get some pretty crazy stuff off this card. So shout outs to this archetype. It's ultra memory efficient. It's unbelievable.
It's also very cheap. Like this deck does not cost you. Like if you bring up the full image, so we can
this is like what there's one secret and like 3 or 4 SRs.
Yes. Is that a secret?
Susanomon.
Oh, okay. I don't think you would play the Susanomon.
Hang on, there's like 5. Yeah, there's 5 SRs in here.
Okay, the Susanoo is funny, but I think there are better things that you can do.
But yeah, obviously this is still a slightly understated.
Oh, no, sorry. I forgot the Gomon itself is an SR. There are 9 super rares in this deck. And 1 secret.
I'm excited to see where this archetype goes. I think unhitting. I'll talk about Jesmon OTK probably next week because we're coming up on some time for our recording today. But I will say a lot of the implications of an unrestriction on the Digimon TCG standard format have not been fully explored. So by the time we next talk, I'm sure we will have tested more 14. So
and we can talk about Euros and all of that.
Yeah,
shout outs once again to local. Yeah, shout outs to everybody from Liverpool Regionals. I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody here, but I think it was one of the nicest events. Generally, the folks I spoke to were lovely. Shout outs to the OPE. Yeah, shout outs to the OPE team. They continue to knock it out of the park. They are my favorite UKTOs. So keep your eyes on esports.net. Andrew and I put some work together on some cool news that you'll be seeing on there soon. Maybe about some stuff that might be coming next year. So
yeah, very excited.
Twitch.tv/KnTElixar and YouTube.com/KnTElixar.
True.
Yeah, join channel memberships on YouTube. That helps us a lot. Subscribe here on Twitch.
If your mom has an Amazon Prime, steal it and subscribe using Twitch Prime.
Loads of deck profiles are going to be coming out. Like my Blue 14 event one's going to be coming out. Andrew has like a ton for the people that do it well, like the Alpha.
The best Alphamon in the West is coming to that YouTube channel.
That is coming up tomorrow.
Shamble and then tell you to watch a podcast.
Yeah, Mirage, Luga, we'll have everything.
Deck profile Harry told you to listen to the podcast. Podcast Harry will now tell you to watch the deck profile, and then you will listen to both of them forever and give Andrew ad revenue until the end of time. Go.
Road to 1,000 before that, Harry.
Yeah, true. I also need to make a new sponsor ad because Toei has decided I'm not allowed to use my funny Digivolution animation anymore.
How do you do 1K? This is the K. This is the 1.
Marcio, you hold up the K. I'll hold up the 1.
Okay.
I need to be.
Hold on. Who am I?
You're the K, and I'm the 1, and I get the little. This is the little point on the. Wait. This is the point on the end of the 1. No, wait. There we go. I figured it out. Road to 1K, baby. We did it.
Wait. How the fuck do I do a K on camera? My camera.
You crushed it, bro. We did it.
He's gonna have the tech ready for next week.
We can't be worried about which way around the letter. We can't be worried about which way around the letter K is because then we're only doing the card game players can't read stereotype.
We are never beating the allegations.
Do you want to sign us out, Andrew? Anything
Yeah,
else you
just
wanna
one
say?
last. Speaking of Digimon players can't read, shout out to Jamie and TommyNT for being the highest placing Jessmons in the room. Nobody else reads their cards.
I knew they'd do it! I never doubted them!
If Thomas parentheses tricks parentheses on the sticks parentheses has no fans, it's because I am dead and in the ground.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Pod Squad podcast. If you have any other better names for the podcast and who from Fanboy that you want to see on camera next, let us know in the comments. Watch back the VOD if you missed any of it. Subscribe to the Twitch, subscribe to the YouTube, and as always, thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time.
Card games are sick this year!
Anyways, promote Dorga.